Hello, everybody. Brendan Marcello here, 24/7 Sports for another episode of Social Distance. Our guest today is Rhett Lashlee, offensive coordinator at Miami. You may remember Rhett Lashlee at his stops at SMU, UConn, and of course, Auburn. Before that, Rhett, thanks for joining us. I know obviously we're in a period of time right now as we record this, wondering when and if football is going to happen, but Miami's one of the more interesting stories of the offseason, especially on offense, considering how much the offense struggled last season, but now the new pieces that are in place, including yourself. But it all starts with quarterback D'Eriq King, who obviously at Houston in 2008 lit the world on fire. In your interactions with D'Eriq, and I know you guys haven't been able to work on the field really all that much, obviously, but what kind of quarterback do you have there on campus?
Well, it's good to see you, Brandon. It's been a while since we've got to visit. Appreciate you having me on. I think first and foremost, I think Manny Diaz, has done a really good job over the last 4 years here at Miami defensively. And, when he brought me in here, I think he just realized that, what fits the athletes here in South Florida, what fits the kind of players we have and can recruit to Miami is more of a spread up tempo offense. And so I think there's been some desire for that to happen here for some time. And so, excited to be here and have a chance for us to implement that type of scheme. To your point, once that kind of decision was made, you've got to have a trigger man. You got to have a guy running the show. And I had the opportunity the 2 years I was at SMU to play against Houston, the first year, and against D'Eriq King. I have had to remind him we found a way to beat him both times. But, to your point, 2 years ago in 2018, they came to play us. I think they were 7 or 8-1. And, he was as electrifying as any player in college football. And just a phenomenal season. Last year, even though he only played 4 games, what he did against people like Oklahoma and I think Washington State and some other people was still pretty impressive. I think even Lincoln Riley had a lot of great things to say about him after that game. And so when he became on the market, we needed a quarterback. He needed a home. And I think it was just he was driven to play at a place that, like Miami, that's on the national stage, could be a national title type contender, could be in that spotlight for 1 year. And so it just kind of worked out good. He needed a place that would allow him that opportunity. We needed a guy that had some experience, and also he's a pretty good playmaker too. So that part worked out. And then just when it comes to how much we've been able to – we got 4 spring practices in. And so we were able to do that. That helps a lot. And we were able to see enough to know not only him but all of our players that, hopefully when we get back out there, I think we have a chance.
Is it more difficult to install your system coming in right now, or were things pretty smooth in the spring and a lot of carryover even in the Zoom meetings and everything you're able to do this summer?
Yeah, anytime you come somewhere new and you get a few meetings, 4 practices, and then you just don't see the guys for like 4 months, most people would tell you common sense that's not ideal, and it's not. But I look at the positives. We got 4 practices in. They understand the way we want to practice, the tempo, the style of play we want to play. Fortunately, we're not real complex on offense. We're not. Our whole premise is we want our players on our team to be able to play fast and react and not think a lot, but still look complex to the defense and play with tempo. So I feel good that we were able to at least expose our guys to the core values we need to have on offense and the identity, and maybe even learn a little bit about them. That it did carry over into the Zoom meetings. We've done the best we could, and we're going to be in the same boat as everybody else just about, when we get back to practicing. So we just control what we can control.
When you got to Miami, some coaches, they'll obviously want to watch tape of the previous season with the offense and what you're taking over. How much stock did you put into what you saw last season? Obviously, it's a new beginning for you, but what did you see from those games last year from that offense?
Brant, it's a great question. I kind of used the same mentality back in 2013 when we came to Auburn. Auburn had come off a really rough year in 2012, and there wasn't a lot of optimism on the offensive side of the ball at the time. In the spring, there wasn't really a quarterback that everybody felt great about. And kind of did the same thing here that we did then. I told the guys, I didn't watch a full game from last year. did have certain cut-ups of individual players made. We could watch 10 or 15 plays just to get a feel for who we had and try to put them in the right positions to start out. But, we wanted to know the guys to know it's a fresh start. It's a new day in terms of, we're going to be running a completely different style of offense than they ran. We want the culture and the environment offensively to be totally different. We wanted to get to know the players for who they were, not maybe some things from the past. And there's a fine line. You want to at least have an idea of some things. You need to be aware of it, but we didn't want to define those guys' opportunities based on the previous year. And so tried to do the best we could to separate and not worry about last year here, just like we did in 2013 with 12, and let, what the guys do, what we had thought was going to be a full spring ball, on the field kind of speak for itself. And I think anytime you can do that, it helps those players truly believe that you really are giving them a fresh start. And that's what we wanted to do, and have a blank slate.
You talk about that first year as OC at Auburn when you guys came in, and it was kind of that new day mentality of, listen, everything's starting fresh.
Yeah.
You guys went through a lot of pain that previous season. Obviously, the Miami offense was just downright troubling near the end of the season, especially. But when you come in, and I can't help but think here, just from from far away right now, when you got a guy like Derek King at quarterback, it kind of reminds, and he comes in as a transfer, it kind of reminds me what happened at Auburn when you guys got Nick Marshall off the JUCO circuit to come in and kind of plug in and automatically spark things. And I guess what I'm trying to get at is, it looks good on paper, but there is some acclimation period even through the season of trying to figure out the identity of the offense, is there not?
Yeah, typically it's going to take, especially when you have a new quarterback or a new offense, 3 or 4 games into the season when you truly know kind of the identity. We have an idea. I think I know what we're going to be, but it'll kind of tweak a little bit as the season goes on. But you usually don't have much time to get that right. And so the good news is a guy like De'Eric, more so than, say, Nick, has played quarterback at the collegiate level to high level. So there's a lot more evidence of what he is comfortable with, what he does well. And so hopefully that'll help marry the two up. And it's 7 years later. Hopefully I'm a better coach than I was 7 years ago. And so, and I'll say this, the one thing I did get watching the cut-ups of our individual players here and having those 4 practices, we have speed, we have length, we have athleticism. We have some guys that if we can put them in the right position, I'll ask them to do the things they can do and help maybe play to their strengths, then hopefully we can, turn things around quicker than, people think in some areas. And then at the same time, if you try to play to what your quarterback does well and build it around what he's good at, then maybe that'll help us as well.
Take me through the process when Manny Diaz kind of first reached out to you about the job, because as you said, Manny does a great job with defense no matter where he goes. And that wasn't the problem at Miami. Obviously it was that offense, and he needed someone to come in and one, bolster that offense, but maybe just change things completely from what we've seen at Miami here, at least in recent years. What was that process like? Did you have to sell him on your offense, or did he come to you like, hey, you're the guy I want?
First of all, Manny and I have a relationship just over the years going against each other with Auburn and Mississippi State, even Auburn and Louisiana Tech. And it's just like everything else in this business. You develop a respect for certain guys you go against, and he's always been really a tough defensive coordinator for us to go against. So we had that relationship. So it was just, he reached out once it was an opportunity and pretty much told me he knew what he wanted to do offensively. And, since I've left Auburn, we've really started to play truly with a lot of tempo. Tried to make that a big part of who we are. It's, a lot of the foundations of what I learned as a player in coaching is still similar to some things at Auburn, but we're very different if you watch us on film. And one of the big things is playing fast. We averaged almost 81 plays a game last year. And I think, just as a defensive coordinator, he knows going against tempo is a problem. And so our relationship, experience in the SEC, what he wanted, it just was a fit. And so, honestly, it was a pretty, I think, easy conversation for both of us. Probably the hardest part for me was just leaving some really good kids like Shane Buechele at SMU. But I think it was a natural fit. And Manny is really good because not only is he great on defense, but he's really good at, assessing situations, what's best for his team, and then I think committing to it. And he's been 100% on board with us spreading the field, playing fast, and trying to get our guys in space since he and I have ever talked.
Is Manny like? I mean, obviously, you go into college towns, the head coach is always the star, so to speak. But is it a little bit different with Manny in Miami, just considering his family history there and his dad being the mayor at one point and all that?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's definitely got a good comfort level here, great name, and I think that's why he's a great fit. Um, but honestly, I've been in quarantine most of the time I've been in Miami, so it's hard for me to really tell you what things are like out there in the community. But that's the great thing for someone like me coming in who's never been in Miami much is, he knows everything that you need to know about this area, and so that's helped out a lot.
It's a recruiting hotbed, as we know, down there. And, I mean, that's how Miami made itself known back in the 80s. They put a wall around the county there and were able to recruit. How do you feel about the future of recruiting at Miami on offense?
Well, I think, to your point, everybody comes to South Florida to recruit. You referenced back in '83 when it kind of started, they kind of had the whole state of Miami where the line was drawn pretty much everything south of Tampa and the Space Coast down, and did a lot of the guys stayed home, and it turned around quickly. I think it's easy from afar, and I've been guilty of that before, to say, well, Miami, I mean, they should get everybody. Well, everyone else is coming here to get players too. The entire SEC is coming here, the entire country. But I think that's part of the reason that, Manny wanted to go to this style of offense is, we have to give the kids here a reason to want to stay home. And an exciting offense, similar to what they do in high school. Everyone's running the spread. Everyone's spreading the field with these athletes in South Florida. Everyone's playing with some tempo. And most of these kids grow up wanting to wear the U on the side of their helmet. But over the years, everybody comes down here. Everybody's good at what they do. They got good programs. And there's so many players here, you really honestly can't take them all. You can only sign 25 a year. And so I think that, first of all, we've got to give them a reason to want to stay. Second of all, to your point, though, I think our staff's done a great job in this quarantine recruiting when we haven't been able to have kids come watch a spring practice to see the new offense. Yeah. We haven't been able to have kids come to camp. And I think we're doing really well, really as a team, but obviously from an offensive standpoint, and the guys that we're targeting, we think fit what we want to do. I think those guys are really buying into that vision.
How good could D'Eriq King be?
I always hate putting expectations.
I know, but
he kind of put him on. He kind of put him on himself, right, in 2018.
Yeah.
The thing that's the best about D'Eriq King is not that he's an electric athlete, not that he throws the ball a whole lot better than probably most people think. He's just a winner, and he's a leader. Like, who he is going to be more important to us than even his ability. Now, don't get me wrong. That's pretty cool. It makes those play calls a lot easier and makes them ride a lot more too. But just from being a leading presence as your quarterback on a team, from the way he works, the work ethic, I think it starts with how he was raised by his late father and his mother. He was raised the right way. He was taught how to work, how to compete, how to handle failure. And I think it just shows in who he is. And I think the guys around him are, leadership is influence. Guys are influenced by him in a positive way. They're drawn to him. And that's more because of who he is. It just helps when you're also really good at football.
I wanted to ask you, I don't think you've talked a lot about it, at least not recently. You used to be in the media realm. You used to help run a high school football magazine.
Yeah.
Tell me about those days and what you learned about just like how terrible the journalism industry is.
Well, you probably know my buddy Mike Capshaw there in Northwest.
Yeah, Mike.
Yep. He really handled the journalism side of what we were doing. I was more the business side of it. But I did get a first look at it. I can tell you for sure it's a lot easier to have an opinion or write an article than call 3rd and 6, because you could be wrong maybe on that opinion and it doesn't quite bite you as much. But the more and more I'm starting to see it, you guys take a pretty good beating too. So, what I learned is there's a lot of really good people in the journalism world out there, and it's a hard job. It's a hard job to balance trying to tell either, public interest piece stories or just report the news or opinion pieces and tell it honest and truthful, and at the same time not be slanted one way or the other. It's hard. And I got a lot of respect for people in the media who do what they do. Mike was awesome to be around. I learned a lot from him on the journalistic side of things. I also learned really quick that I needed to be a football coach. I was a lot better at that than the other. So.
Yeah, so you did that, and then obviously you got back into coaching. And my last question here is just kind of a retrospective here. When you land your first FBS job at Auburn under your mentor Gus Malzahn, your old high school coach, in 2013, you leave to go on your own to kind of do your own thing at, as we mentioned, UConn and then SMU, and now you're here at Miami. What has changed about you and the offense, for that matter, in these 7 years and during these several stops?
That's a great question. I think you're always evolving as a coach, trying to get better. That's the way we are in life, right? Anything. But I'm always forever grateful. Gus was my high school coach, him and also Chris Wood, and I learned so much from them. And just kind of my foundation of football and philosophy and comes from a lot from those two men. And then the opportunities Gus gave me to get into college football and then to be an offensive coordinator first at Arkansas State and then at Auburn. I could never thank him enough for those opportunities. I think everything in life kind of has its cycles. And I feel like, he helped me with those opportunities. I obviously helped him a lot with, we won a national championship together in 2010. We played for another one in 2013. I think 2013 and 14 is the best, years of back-to-back offense in school history. So we did a lot of good things together, but also offensively, even if we come from the same background, the same deep philosophy and foundation, everyone's got their own personality. And, you kind of reach a level where you can only grow so much in the environment you're in. And you got to step into another environment that's maybe more uncomfortable or maybe not what you or even other people expected. And you got to be comfortable in your own skin. And, getting out there, Randy Edsel and Sonny Dykes giving me those opportunities to just kind of grow as a coach and kind of feel out what is truly my philosophy. What do I truly believe in? Not as much I believe in a lot of the stuff we were doing at Auburn, but I was also running a system, whereas it can now go out and you can kind of build a system with the staffs I've been on the last 3 or 4 years. And, especially last year at SMU, I think you saw us finally kind of grow into what I feel like I believe in. I believe in balance, and you got to run it and throw it. I've always believed you got to run the ball to win, but you got to throw the ball to score. It's a fancy way of saying balance. But actually putting that together has been fun. I would say now our offense, people ask me all the time, what kind of offense do you run? Is it spread? Is it a no huddle? What's the name of it? It's got to have a name. You got air raid, you got no huddle, you got this and that. And I couldn't tell you. It's probably more of a power spread offense, but I've been blessed to take pieces of the kind of the Gus Malzahn system that I grew up in, systems of some things with the coaches I've worked with over the last 3 years that have a little more air raid principles to them, stuff I truly believe in anyways. And, even some of the stuff that maybe they were doing at Baylor over the years. And we've kind of just married it together and made a system that I want our guys to play fast. I want us to be aggressive. I want us to be attacking. Again, be simple for our guys where we can play fast, not only physically, but mentally. One of the things that always frustrates me is when you say you play fast, but you don't play fast. If we want to play fast, we got to commit to doing that. And I think we did that, especially last year at SMU. But I think when you can do that, it gives your players confidence, and consistency and simplicity breeds confidence for your kids, doing the same thing over and over again. And, especially at a place like Miami, if we recruit the right kind of kids here, we should have some good players to where we don't have to overthink the room. We can do that as coaches sometimes. It's like, let's put them in a position to know what they're doing and execute it at a high level, and then their abilities will take over. So I think the best thing that ever happened, I love Auburn. I had the best time. All 4 of my kids were born there, and I'm always grateful to Gus, my former high school coach. But breaking away has been really good for me, and it's allowed me to be in a position here at Miami. I've also said this. People ask, it's not my offense, it's our offense. We got a good staff here at Miami. And we do it together. And, I've always thought that, 10 people in a room is better than 1. I don't have all the answers. I don't think I invented football, but, we're trying to make the best offense every year we can. And that's what's fun, doing it together. That's what's fun for me. And that's what we were able to do the last couple of years. And I'm hoping we can do the same thing here at Miami.
I know I said that was the last question, but you brought up your kids, and you talk about balance. Two pairs of twins, 2 boys, 2 girls. What's the house like during quarantine?
Whew, constant chaos. My wife's excited I got to see that because now she knows I have an all new respect for what she puts up with daily. And I was ready to go back to work. I'll say this, you may have a future as a coach because as a coach, you always tell your guys last play and then you run like 4 more plays in practice. So it's been awesome. We kind of say it's the zoo, 2x2. We got 2 boys that are almost 10, 2 girls that just turned 4.
Wow, man, they're that old now. That's crazy.
The boys will be 10 in September. The girls turned 4 in May. Ironically, they were all 4 born in Auburn at the same hospital with the same doctor, which is crazy in our profession. There's never a dull moment. Like literally it's never quiet because, every now and then we'll get away with 1 kid and we're like, so this is what it's like, or 2 kids. But 4, but I'll say this, it's such a blessing that you've heard a lot of coaches, I'm sure, say this during the quarantine. You try to find the positives. I've spent a ton of time with my kids. We got on TikTok and made idiots of ourselves a couple times, which maybe I just did, but they had a good time with that. You get creative as parents. One thing we did the first part of quarantine is every night had like a theme, man. Like Monday night was game night. So we'd be playing wiffle ball in the front backyard or soccer. And then Tuesday night was pool night. And Wednesday night was like video game night. And Thursday night was family night. And then Friday night was movie and pizza. And like, they actually had a blast with it. And then once that got stale, we went into my boys kind of grew up and allowed me to be a big kid in the Marvels world when the Avengers and everybody was coming back. So we've been watching the Marvels movies in chronological order. I think Black Panther's up next. And so
it's the best one.
It really might be. And so even though we'd seen them all, we're now watching them in chronological order, which actually is pretty cool. You learn some things. And so it allows me to be an adult and be cool, but still be a kid and watch all the Avenger movies. And I'm doing it with my kids, but it's been good. And because at the end of the day, that's what matters. Football's what I do. It's not who I am. And life's, there's a lot going on right now, but I think life's about people and relationships. And I've been charged with, my 4 kids and their lives and their relationships more than even anybody. And so to have that, my wife and I said that about 2 weeks in, like there will never be another 1 to 4 month window in our lifetime probably where we're like stuck in the house with our kids. Hopefully something like this never happens again, but life is going to go back to being fast and busy and they're going to get old and we're not going to be cool. Right. So they're not going to want to hang out with us. And so we did.
Oh, you're still cool. You're still cool with your almost 10-year-old kids.
Well, I don't know. Last year I was walking them into school once and they were in 3rd grade. And I kind of like, I don't know. I got told to like, Dad, you're good. You can leave now once. So,
Dad, give Dad a hug.
Yeah, no hug. Now my girls are still in, but they're only 4. No, the boys, they're starting to drift away. I don't know if I'm cool, but I try to feel cool. But we just tried to maximize it the best we could, and we are grateful for that. But it's you just come over to our house for 1 hour and you'll see.
No, I'm good. I've got 1 kid. That's enough.
But I will say this: it doesn't matter if you got 1 or 4. It's just, as until you've been a parent, you really don't know.
Yeah, it's amazing. Rhett, it's good to see you, man. I'm so happy for your success, getting to know you over the years, and hopefully we get a football season because I think you guys are going to be very successful this year at Miami.
Well, Brandon, I appreciate you. Happy for you and all you got going on. I always have appreciated you, and I'm with you. And I think if we can do it safely, our kids and our country, I think it would be good to be able to play some football at some point this fall.
Rhett Lashlee on Social Distance.